All right, good morning from Klamath Falls. We're on our way to Bend today. We're gonna walk on the wild side. It's only about a 2-hour drive from Klamath Falls to Bend, but the last time we were in this area, we were distracted with a side trip to Crater Lake, since it is right on the way between the two cities. While it was worth the distraction, it did mean we had only a small amount of time in Bend, and we really wanted to see and explore more. One of the places we wanted to come back for was the High Desert Museum. We had so many questions about this place and couldn't wait to see what was waiting for us. From the beginning of March to the end of October is high season, so the price is a bit higher and the crowd's a bit bigger. During the colder months, the prices go down a bit, as does attendance. So if you're okay with the cold, then you may want to schedule your trip for that time of year. So there is an easy free parking lot right out in front, but there is a drop-off. So if you need somebody who needs to drop off and wait, you want to pull the stroller out here instead of in the parking lot, this is where you do it. So the real question is here, why do they call it a museum? It has animals, animal presentations. Why is it called a museum? Let's go in and find out. Right from the path at the entrance, we could see that this was totally different from what we had imagined. The sculptures are everywhere, and they seem to cover each type of animal that lives in this part of Oregon. Built right into the forest, there are lots of woodland views and water features, such as waterfalls and ponds, each with more sculptures to enjoy. Be prepared to spend several hours here because they give you plenty of places, like this front patio, to hang out in and enjoy them. And while dogs are not permitted inside, they do have accommodations for them. As you enter the museum lobby, the museum atmosphere is apparent, including interactives. There is an interactive here. It tells you all about their range. And then there are lots of different panels to open. It tells you all about it. I'm the type of person who really enjoys interactives, but what we were not prepared for was a porcupine right in the lobby. More on him a bit later. Okay, so we found out why it's called a museum, because all of the stuff inside is museum stuff, from Native American history to just local history, pioneering history. There's so much to see inside. And then when you go outside, that's where the animals are and the animal presentations. But there's also like a pioneer village with a sawmill and everything. So there is so much here to explore. There was seating indoors, but we preferred the patio, and the food was really good. Okay, time to explore. The Desertarium is on the way to the outside exhibits, and it was fun to see the lizards peeking out and the blue tails of the skinks as they raced around the rocks, which are part of their habitat in order to give them hiding places. And we love the grumpy face of this guy.
Come to find out that people have a different definition of elevation gain, though it's not too much. Flat surfaces and hills are two distinct things.
Strollers and wheelchairs can be rented free of charge. Our first stop outside was...
Here we are coming up to the Donald M. Kerr Birds of Prey Center. It's supposed to be quiet in here. The birds are sensitive to noise.
I was overjoyed to see my favorite owl, the great horned owl, as we entered the area. These are such fascinating birds. Did you know that owls have 3 eyelids? The clear one allows them to protect their eyes while swooping down on prey. Many of the areas here have inside and outside areas to explore. For us, the American bald eagle was next, and he gave us quite the treat. Eagles are not common for us, so it was so cool to hear him. This area even had some wildlife roaming around, like this western gray squirrel. More on them in a bit.
This eagle was struck by a car wreck, resulting in bone fractures in one wing. So like the eagle, like the American eagle, although the wing's intact, medical treatment was unable to restore full flight.
This is something that all of the animals here have in common. Either the damage was too severe or there's an attachment disorder, so they can no longer live in the wild. For a few seconds, we were not sure if this barred owl was alive, till he moved. Just took our breath away.
It was found in California, had probably been hit by a car.
Seeing these animals so close up and learning more about them was simply the coolest part of the outside exhibits.
So if you make a fist with one hand and press it down in the palm of the other hand, this is sort of what a horse hoof would be like on the ground. You make a peace sign, push that in, that's more like what a deer or pronghorn is going to be like. So when our native hoofed mammals run across the landscape, they're churning that soil up, aerating it, bluffing it. When horses are spending a serious amount of time in a given area, they're compacting that soil, making it harder. If you are a delicate desert seed, what's going to be easier to sprout in? Fluffy soil or hard soil? Yeah. So these animals, it's really remarkable. One species, one beloved species, can have a remarkable impact on the entire ecosystem because of the impact they have on our plant life here.
After that first wonderful presentation, we found out that there was another one we wanted to see starting soon, so we decided to explore more of the area outside while we waited. We headed for the first pond and found more sculptures and beautiful woodland views along the way. Rainbow trout are only native to western Northern America, but have gotten so popular they can now be found thriving in every continent except Antarctica.
You can see the fish. Like really see the fish.
Wow, pretties. The trout.
Yep.
We both grew up in fishermen's households, so we can appreciate the size and beauty of these fish, as well as the habitat they have created for them. Let us know in the comments which is your favorite sculpture.
Wild mustangs.
The upper section of the property has several outbuildings. We knew we didn't have time to see them all before the next presentation, but really enjoyed what we did see.
So you can tell the difference between the golden mantled ground squirrel and the yellow pine chipmunk. So basically the main reason, the thing is you can recognize the chipmunks by the distinctive facial stripes, and it's even a little smaller.
We didn't see any squirrels or chipmunks except the one at the entrance, but we could sure hear them in the trees.
This is the settler's cabin.
There are information cards everywhere along the walk, but the presentations inside the buildings were amazing. We really loved exploring the woods, but ran out of time quickly and needed to make our way back to the entrance to catch the next presentation.
But I would be shocked if any of you told me that you were positive you've not seen a red-tailed hawk before. Because honestly, it's hard to avoid them. Red-tailed hawks are everywhere. They are the most common hawk in the United States and the second most common raptor. They are widespread, living so many different environments. And while we can talk about them and what they're doing over in other states, we're going to primarily focus on what red-tails are doing here in Bend.
This one has an injured eye, but it certainly didn't slow her down.
You can all see how big her feet are. They use those to catch their food.
I had never seen a beaver before, and this was so much fun seeing how they move and react. The naturalist led him with carrots so he would get his treats along the pathway she wanted him to take.
But this is indeed a porcupine. And these porcupines actually have kind of 3 different types of hair. It's kind of turned his back towards you right now, but the first type is kind of that short hair that you might be able to see on its face, kind of helping to keep him warm. That second type of hair is going to be called its guard hair. And that is mainly what you're actually seeing on its back.
There are 2 porcupines here for you to see, and we just fell in love with them. All right, so that was just the coolest presentation. I was so glad that we went in and watched, what was it called?
Desert inhabitants.
So learning all about how that hawk lives, and oh my gosh, I'm in love with the porcupine. The beaver was so cute, but you learned so much about them and just how far this range goes. They said all the way from the eastern Cascades all the way down to northern Arizona. That's an incredible range.
Yeah, the high desert covers a lot of ground.
So we highly recommend catching the presentations. We re-entered at the Desertarium and found that this burrowing owl had popped out of his den to see us. In fact, he didn't seem to move away from us at all and seemed rather interested in us instead. These owls live to be about 7 years old, live in existing burrows other animals have dug, and their biggest threats are cars and climate change. We were dazzled. Next up were the turtles and the fish. This painted turtle species can be traced back for more than 15 million years. As we made our way across the building, we came upon Juniper, the porcupine. Juniper's brother, Tumbleweed, starred in that program we just attended. They were both born in captivity and, as a result, are imprinted on humans and cannot survive on their own in the wild. Here they hide food all over the enclosure so that the porcupines can spend time, just like in the wild, foraging for food.
Yeah, you got more. She didn't put any food over there, did she? You're gonna have to go up the tree.
Seeing a bobcat so close up was thrilling. It was near feeding time, and this guy knew it.
The zoomies.
Timber the bobcat came to the museum as a very small orphan kitten, weighing less than 3 pounds. He enjoys rats, mice, rabbit, and quail for his meals. He's very social and loves making connections, even playing with people on the other side of the glass. Making eye contact with him was simply thrilling, and I could have just sat on that bench watching him for hours. He does share this space with Gert the gray fox, so you're not always guaranteed to see him, but believe me, it is so cool when you do. Opposite of Timber was the Sensing Sasquatch exhibition, featuring works by 5 indigenous artists. Rather than the popular mainstream view of Sasquatch, this exhibition shows Sasquatch as a protective entity for many indigenous peoples of the high desert. We particularly liked this motion-activated exhibit. From there, it was next door to the Spirit of the West Gallery. This area begins with the terrain, animals, and indigenous peoples who lived here before the white man and others moved into this area. It covers many aspects of the colonization, never attempting to romanticize this process. Like any really good museum, this one tries to present the facts and allows you to see what the results were. From the first explorers to the fur traders and military, you get to see how this area was completely changed by this movement. As with every story of colonization, there were a lot of clashes between the two sides, and this museum accurately depicts that path and the outcome. You learn about the people who immigrated to this part of the U.S., including the Oregon Trail parties, hoping for a new way of life, a new home. This part of the museum focuses on those communities that were set up here in Oregon, where these people came from and what they hoped to find in this new land. But it was gold fever that really brought many more to the West, including to Oregon.
And you thought you had a tiny home.
Towns popped up quickly, and they even have a full small town setup, the post office, bank, mercantile, and more. They've even piped in music and birdsong to make it a little more like you're exploring outside. These are very small buildings and not exactly to scale, to show you how these small towns work and let you see some of the artifacts of the time.
This is like the Black Hawk Museum. If you have not seen that video, definitely go check it out. There's so many different aspects to this place. I just can't get over it. I'm gonna say this is the general store.
It's the Chinese mercantile.
Oh, Chinese mercantile.
Chinese immigrants arrived in 1865 and were a very important part of the labor force during those years. We then moved back across the lobby to the other side of the museum to see the By the Hand Through Memory section. This is the same side of the museum as the Desertarium, but this side is centered upon the Plateau Indians and their way of life. To the right of this truck is the Desertarium, so there is a cut through if you don't want to explore the same path that we chose. There are beautiful sculptures on this side as well, and you can even see some through the windows. This raven was a favorite of ours. This museum sits in what is the Indigenous Plateau. It takes the mission of sharing the stories of the Plateau nations very seriously. This ongoing mission lets them continue to learn about this culture, these communities, and extend the learning opportunities to their guests by updating their exhibitions. This one is in process of being reimagined and updated, so it may not be exactly how we experienced it when you arrive. The stories of the Nez Perce, Umatilla, Warm Springs, Yakima, Spokane, and Colville people are told and preserved here in these galleries. Often considered by white society to be primitive people living in a craft-making past, these exhibits strive to show how these people are actually active decision makers who cultivate cultural identities built on their traditions and innovations. These galleries show how resilient the Plateau nations are and how they work to retain their cultural heritage and identity. We were there midweek in July and nearly had these galleries to ourselves, so we had plenty of time to read the displays, learn about the traditional ways of living and how their homes may have looked, and fully enjoy the artwork and purposes of the artwork along the way. Teepees like this one are still used for visiting family members or to sleep in when it gets too hot. The beading always amazes me. Just such delicate work that must take hours to create and is always so beautiful. It was interesting to see how close the family bonds were, even first cousins who were referred to as sisters and brothers. You could have found up to 3 generations all living together. We really love this place and do hope you'll add it to your list to visit. From there, we stopped at the only blockbuster left in America and discovered more wildlife as we made our way down to see a highly recommended location.
So this is the Whitewater Park. That's just Chutes River. And it's so much fun to watch them play in the rapids. Let me see if you can make it over safely.
Even in July, that water was cold. But we did see all types of floats, kayaks, inner tubes, and even some stand-up paddle boards and double tubes being used to play in the rapids. There are 3 different channels here you can take in this part of the river. The Fish Ladder Channel is a series of gentle rapids. The Whitewater Channel is more challenging, and the Habitat Channel is a slow and easy float. We parked our camp chairs where they all come together to watch the play. It was a fun way to wrap up our day before heading to dinner.
Let's go.
All right, so today was a really good day. The High Desert Museum, I don't think we've ever been to anything quite like that.
It was really fun.
We just ended up spending all day there.
Yeah, there was enough to see, enough to do. We saw one show and part of another show.
Part of another one.
Part of another show.
Don't miss those. You never know what you're going to see.
Yeah, now, I would recommend the way that the Desert Inhabitant show was in the afternoon. I can only imagine how great the Raptor show is in the morning.
Right.
Now that one you have to get there early
and get extra tickets.
Right, you get extra tickets. The tickets are free, but you have to get a ticket so you can reserve your spot in the auditorium.
No, we don't know if the first show, the main Raptor show, is free. I don't know. You'll have to check up on that. But all the other ones, the afternoon presentations are. But that was incredible. And then we just went and hung by the river for a while, watching, the tubers and kayakers and bodyboarders.
And ended up at the 99 Bridge Brewery. This is where we were going to actually harvest host if we had the RV. So we decided we'd come by and check it out anyway. The beer's really good.
So if you don't know what harvest hosting is, it's businesses that allow you to stay there on their property overnight, and they just ask you to participate by, buying dinner, buying a beer, or whatever. It's a great program. We really hope to use it at 7 different harvest hosts this time. I'll put the link down below in case you want to go check it out. It's just really a cool program. I'm really sorry we couldn't have done it here, but at least we're getting pizza and a beer, and that's always worth it.
All right, folks. For today, take care.
Safe travels, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us for day 2 of this amazing trip. We do hope you'll give us that thumbs up, and if you're new here, we hope you will subscribe. We make these films for you, and we love hearing from you too. So please leave a comment below and let us know if you've been to Bend. Much more to come as we head up the middle of Oregon, take in a film location in southern Washington, and end up in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho for the 4th of July. If you missed part 1 of this, we'll link it right here so you can check it out.